Hey everybody, welcome to BrickVault. Today is our LEGO Weekly Top 10 MOCs of the Week episode, where we show you the 10 greatest MOCs, or just kind of coolest, fun MOCs that we liked, that we saw people building throughout the week. These 10 MOCs aren't really shown in the order that I like the most, or that I think are necessarily the best, just kind of my 10 favorite. Also, if you have your own MOC that you would like to appear at the end of the episode, we have an email in the description below for brickvaultfanmocs@gmail.com if you want to send pictures of your own MOC to appear in next Sunday's episode. And let's get started with the very first build of the week by Joust. This is Petunia the Pummeler Pixie. Got to appreciate the alliteration, but definitely appreciate the style a little bit more. This is, I would say, a pretty darn good mix between Bionicle and system bricks. Excellent use of color. I think my favorite bits of detailing here are those icy clip pieces, I think first seen from Chima, that make up the hair, and whatever those pieces are that make up the pummeling ends, the spiked ends of that giant mallet. Also, the cone pieces that are used for the legs are really nice. The cape pieces that make up the skirt. There really is just a lot of really fun creative detailing here, and if you haven't seen Joust's characters on his Flickr, I highly recommend you check that out. Also, I forgot to mention, all of the Flickrs for these builders are linked in the description below if you want to see more of what they do, and I highly recommend you go check out Joust. Okay, moving on. Number 2 is by Marco Marozzi, and this is the M32 Medium Mech. This design here feels wholly unique, yet very recognizable to sort of a classic mech style. You have the rocket pods as the shoulder pods sort of on the top, which we've seen for so many different builds. The giant legs have similar armor detailing that we might have seen on mechs or maybe even Gundams, but really the shape of the body is its own design. It looks decently posable, maybe a little bit more economical than if it had come with arms, and Marco's limiting use of his accent color, the orange, is definitely a good touch. I like the primarily gray and just a little bit of flat silver kind of speckled throughout the build. It really is a pretty darn good looking mech. I don't usually show these types of builds off, but this one really did catch my eye. And then let's move on to our micro build. This is the only micro build of the week by Soccer Kid 6. This was the second place prize for the 48x48 castle category of the summer Joust. It's a fun little build, quite simple I would say, but there are a few fun details that I like here, like the upside down 2x2 round brick used so the underside of the studs kind of look like those little cutouts that make up the turret. The ice cream cone pieces are upside down that look like fun designs for columns, and it's an interesting roof design using those 1x1 panel pieces for the main tower. Other than that, quite simple, but it's a fun looking little castle. And this next build is very impressive on several different levels by Timothy Kachev. This is Daydream. I don't know if this is based on any other pre-existing IP. It honestly does remind me a little bit from The Expanse, if you ever watched that show, but I think most of you guys are probably thinking something like Medusa, considering the build for this lady's hair. It was a really creative use for all of those macaroni pieces that I think are in that metallic gunmetal color. And number 1, the build for the actual figure's body does look pretty good. I mean, there's a very good eye for proportions here, and also the pose of the figure is relatively dynamic. But what really caught me too, especially if you start looking a little bit closer, is the build that makes up the environment that this lady is sort of, I guess, being engulfed by. It's just so strange. Those are all steering wheel pieces. I have no idea how many those could be. It looks like probably a couple hundred. And then there's this weird sort of blue and the neon green kind of bone pieces coming out and wrapping around. It's just a disturbing looking build, but disturbing in all the right ways. I just, man, the things that come out of people's imaginations. This is definitely a fun one. And then we have this great use for dynamite pieces. John Tooker built this little vignette, or it looks kind of like a vignette. It's the Lego Cooling Rods MOC. So it looks like we're probably in a space station or some type of high-tech underground super clean facility. The figs are wearing using their suits for either cleanliness or maybe atmospheric. And then you can see the different columns of what what he's been calling cooling rods, but really they are the dynamite pieces, and they're probably just as volatile in this universe, or maybe even more so. There is one cooling rod being transferred. It's just kind of a fun little space scene. Very clean, nice detailing for the walls, and a good presentation with that sort of extra bit of buildup that makes up the base. Here is a very creative build. I don't know, maybe it wins for most creative this week. It certainly took me by surprise. This is Lego Zombie Car, pretty simple name, by the builder Olive Leaf. It's a somewhat simple, just really fun build of a cartoon or maybe baby zombie taking a bubble bath, or a type of bath with rubber duckies, just having a good old time. And the bath is motorized and moves around, because why not? There's a bit of a flexi Technic piece that's attached at the elbow, so when you rock the thing back and forth, the zombie also waves as an extra added, just bit of fun. And this feels like one of those builds that as you're going, you just sort of get ideas and you just kind of create something. I doubt this was drawn out ahead of time or pre-planned too much. This is just kind of one of those creative build as you go type deals, or at least I get that impression, and I absolutely love it. Really talented designer coming from Korea. I highly recommend you check out her Flickr. And then I saw this build from General Magma, and I just thought I had to put it up here because we did just pretty recently get a brand new wave of very good dinosaur molds, and I really like the way Lego makes dinosaur molds. But you gotta show some appreciation for the guys that put in the time and effort to make brick-built dinos that look absolutely amazing. They look like they're built at around the same scale as what we see from sort of the molded dinosaurs, but because they're brick-built, we have a much larger diversity of different kinds of dinosaurs here. And I'm not gonna try to pronounce the names. I know people are going to school me in the comments. That's totally fine. The Triceratops does look amazing. That's my personal favorite from this build, but really there's a lot of great techniques used for all of these guys. Stylistically, the dinosaurs look like they all sort of belong in the same brick-built universe, which I really like. And I don't know, so the Triceratops is my personal favorite. I would like to know which one you guys personally think is the best, but I'm definitely glad just to see some really high-quality brick-built dinos. I haven't seen those guys in a while. Now for the next build by Patrick Biggs. At first I thought this was that dragon from Mulan, but I don't believe it is. It might be loosely inspired off of that guy. The shape definitely reminds me of it. But anyways, this is the guardian spirit Jayfa. Now, as for animated characters built from Lego, I don't really know how much more animated you can get with a guy like this. Both the expression and the stance. I mean, that is such an impressive bit of balancing to get this guy to stand up and look like this. I doubt he's too structurally stable. You wouldn't want to shake the table too much, just a personal guess of mine. But wow, I mean, just look at the slender build for the body. It looks like it's mostly made up of bionicle pieces, but the system bricks that are used throughout just match up so well stylistically. It feels like there isn't really a change up between any of those little system pieces maybe used for the hands and feet, and probably a little bit around the face and tail. The transition between those areas and the bionicle body really just feel very, very smooth, and the fluidity of this character is absolutely awesome. Now moving on, I think we've only got two left. This is a build by jaapxaap called White Lotus Priest, and these fun fantasy builds are always great to point out. I swear Lego builders will always find different, unique, fun ways to create rooftops. Perhaps I've seen this building style before, but the subtlety in the way the roof kind of changes its angles as it kind of bends forward over the front and then further back away from the house, all the while maintaining a look that the panels or the plates that make up the roof tiling itself are kind of popping off and looking kind of old. It's just a really, really fluid, and well, I keep using that word fluid. It really is a fluid looking design though. And there's a few other parts of the build to point out that I really like, especially that use of of the dish piece that make up the mushroom tops. That's a great little bit of flair that adds to the fantasy feel. The cupcake top pieces that make up those knobs of wood that go around, they could be wood posts or something that are maybe used as structure throughout the house. That looks great. And what is going on with that little seagull at the top of the roof? It very much reminds me of the seagulls that we saw from maybe Finding Nemo. Who knows? It could be a totally different type of bird. Anyways, I just really like this build. And let's move on to the very last one of the week. This is by Aaron Newman, and it's called Sacrilege against Quetzalcoatl. That is an Aztec god, and you can see some of the influences here, especially with the pyramid, or that structure that is somewhat pyramid-like. It's very, very small compared to what maybe a lot of people are used to seeing when they think of those giant South American pyramids. But we have an amazing and very graphic violent scene with the priest. Looks like he's about to take somebody's heart out, and maybe there's a couple of people coming to the rescue at the bottom. I didn't actually read the description, but just look at the presentation of this build. We have a great bit of detailing that make up the fire at the bottom. I believe there's probably some artwork or carvings on the side of the stone walls, which is why we have a lot of those curved and round tile pieces on the sides of the pyramid. And then, come on, look at this dragon at the top. I don't know if I've seen such an awesomely fluid change up of colors in such a small span of spaces. The build for the dragon honestly isn't that big, and the color spectrum throughout this is just absolutely amazing. And the backdrop that this guy decided to create with the bright purple really does just make this whole composition look absolutely amazing. I really like the build. Probably my dragon is the favorite part for me personally, but that is going to be it for the top 10 mocks of the week. Remember, if you like what you saw here, I highly recommend you go to these builders flickers and maybe check out what they've built from before. You can like them, you can follow them. Anyways, it's time for the top 10. Sorry, it's time for the fan mocks of the week. And if you want to send your fan mock creations, remember to check the link in the description below for the proper email. All right, that is it. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody, and here are the fan mocks of the week. Oh, hey everybody, hope you enjoyed that video. I just wanted to pop in really quick and say that we do have a web store, brickvault.toys, that sell instructions for super high quality mocks that are built by incredibly talented designers. So that is the first link in the description below. And also there's other videos too. We've got other things if you want to watch that. All right, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.